Alright, I should be live now, guys. What's up? Let me pop out the chat. I'm gonna have to mute the stream when it comes on because I just want to see if it goes on. The way they have it set up now, to like stream between OBS and YouTube is really annoying, and I never know when I'm actually online or not. But I know now. I know I'm online now. I know you guys are hearing me now. So let's close that so you guys don't hear it. I got my chat popped out. So, I'm gonna be talking about audio low. Yeah, see, that's weird. I'm using my... How is it low? Let's see. Yeah, I got it as high as it goes, too. But yeah, I see it is low. And I'm using a really good mic, too. It shouldn't be low at all. Let me check the properties on this. Oh, I'll have to fix this crap. Yeah, blue snowflake. That should work. It shouldn't be low, but it is. So let me go into the settings for it itself. Good thing you told me, though. I'd rather set it up now than wait. Or than have the whole stream be low. Oh. This volume is down. Let's raise all that up. Is that better? I don't, no, it looks about the same. I can see it moving up in the equalizer. Sound settings. Device properties, here we go. Oh, that should be better. You could probably hear me better now. Hello. Alright. I'm also a low talker, so I mean, that doesn't help very much either. But this mic used to be way too loud. It's kind of weird that now it's not. Now I'm like, have the settings all blasted and it's not loud at all. Usually this mic was like way too much. Go to device properties again. Alright, so I put the volume up to it. Yeah, I have the volume at 100%. It's still not maxing out. Before this used to max out easy. And all these things are fucking weird. But it should be fine now, right? Let me know. Yeah, better. Tell us more about your mic settings. Nah, I'm done with that. I already fixed it. So yeah, so this is about... I'm going to make this video about Ask Yourself, who I've taken to call Dr. Reductio now. We did a stream... I did a stream about this with Devin and Based Femoy talking about the response video Ask Yourself did to Devin's video, which is funny because Devin just made it basically to poke fun at him and like basically stir the beast again, because every once in a while we like to fuck with him. It's hilarious. The way he acts is so funny to us, and predictable. He's everybody on his side, like all his fans and him, they've become so predictable to us now that it's like, you know, if you say a certain thing, you know what the reaction's gonna be, and it's so funny to us to watch him do that, which is why Devin in the first place made the vegan agenda, right? And if you remember before, when Devin was messing with Ask Yourself and Vegan Gains, he wrote out the vegan agenda. And in their response video to him, they followed Devin's vegan agenda to the T. Like, it was so fun. Almost to the right order. I think the first 5 were in order of the way they went about it, too. It was so funny. So not much difference happening now. Sorry, I'm smoking a little bit of weed. So they're highly predictable. It's extremely dull. So when we did a stream about it, I think that was Saturday, we didn't get too far into the response video because it's so dull. Ask Yourself's subs, I think, have like not really done much. I think he's kind of just plateaued and stuck where he's at. And the reason why is because he's so dull. Coach Red Pill said it to him in his little AMA where Ask Yourself ambushed him with a debate at an AMA. It's not meant to be a debate. It's just meant to be like a question and answer kind of thing. And Coach Red Pill said, "You are so dull," and it's true. He's so dull. 19K, I think he's stuck at that. I don't think he's gonna get much further. let me show you guys. Yeah, he's at 19K. I don't think he's going to get much further than that. I mean, obviously, he's going to have little growth here and there. I am constantly growing. It's super slow, my channel growth, because I barely do anything. I don't promote myself. You know, I even have the goal of even gaining subs. I just wanted to get to 1,000, and I did that a while ago. And just, you know, basically, there I am. You know, like, so whenever I want to post stuff, I do. You know, if people want to super chat me, they can, because I'm past 1,000 and I'm pretty comfortable where I'm at. So I don't really promote myself very much. But ask yourself, does this regularly? As you can see, he posts videos all the time. He's, you know, he has a Discord dedicated to this specific thing that he does that is moronic. He doesn't see it as being as such. It's dumb. It's totally, it's, what I find weird about it is him and a lot of the people who are fans of his, not all of them, of course. I don't even think everybody who sticks around him and is fans of his actually likes him. I think a lot of them is just like, they like to be close to the train wreck, you know, and laugh at him from close so they can be around to listen to everything he says and laugh at him. But, because it's weird, there's like no self-awareness. Half the things he does in these videos, when I watch them, is extraordinarily embarrassing. I would be embarrassed to have that out there. Like, if I acted in some of the ways that he acts, and somebody posted on the internet, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, oh my god, that was such an embarrassing situation. How could you have put that on the internet, you know? But he goes and puts it up as if it's something to be proud of, and his audience cheers it, you know, and they're like, yeah, it's awesome. But of course, like I said, his audience is limited. He has had not much growth. He's still at the 19K. He's still a relatively small channel, especially compared to other vegans who actually have a personality, who actually have some self-awareness and understanding. As much as I dislike Vegan Gains, and as dumb as I find him, and as little self-awareness as he used to have, it seems like over the years he has gained some self-awareness. He has chilled out a lot. He doesn't act the same way he used to act on the internet, because he eventually gained some humility and realized that shit is embarrassing. The way you act on the internet and exposing yourself, you wouldn't act like that in person. You know what I'm saying? You'd be embarrassed to act like that in person. Or somebody will embarrass the fuck out of you if you act like that in person, you know? And that's what I find funny about the internet, is that people, I guess since there's nobody really to physically check your behavior, you can act any way you want. People don't care. And since you have such a wide exposure, people can just, you know, like, people who think the same can be like, yeah, that's great behavior, but it's not. You wouldn't act like that in public. Ask yourself, arguing with Sinatra says, listening to Sinatra Says' voice, it kind of sounds nerdy, so maybe he would act like that to him. But I swear to God, if Ask Yourself, there's a point in that where he's just yelling at the dude, stop, 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 over and over again while he's trying to talk. If Ask Yourself, Isaac, I'm going to call him, if Isaac did that in real life to somebody, he would be missing teeth. Like, there's no way he's doing that to people in public, in real life. There's no way that he's doing that, because somebody would knock his teeth out. You would get checked for that, and you'd realize not to do that to people ever again, because you know you're going to get your teeth knocked out. You know what I'm saying? There's repercussions for that behavior. It is, and on top of that, it is very embarrassing behavior. If you did that in public and somebody, look, if I was walking down the street and I see two guys having a discussion at the corner, and I start walking by and one guy starts yelling at the other guy, stop, 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 in the middle of him talking, I would look at that dude and be like, this dude's fucking nuts. Like, that's embarrassing. How is he not embarrassed to be acting like that in public, you know? And there are people who do act like that in public, but guess what happens? Everybody, even in New York City, everybody will look over. You know, I've seen this a million times in a subway in New York City, where one person gets loud with another person over a discussion, and everybody looks at them like, whoa, look at these fucking weirdos having a loud-ass argument, acting like children in the fucking subway. They're adults. Like, what the fuck? It's not the way to behave. This guy, he's a child. You know what I'm saying? He's a child with an ego and no self-awareness. Sorry. I'm gonna mute myself for a second. Sorry, guys. Whew, that was a hard hit. Let's see. Let me read a little bit of the chat. Hi, Nessa. Greg. I don't know who you are, Greg. Alpha will be big eventually. It isn't. I don't really want to be big. I've never been that kind of person. I just like to create things and put it out there. I don't really care how many people enjoy it or not, or don't. Uh, Yo, what's up, TJ? It seems like Devin is intentionally growing his own army of people to argue with who aren't retarded. Elf was the first. I guess we don't really argue much, though. I mean, that's not what. That's another thing that I'm going to get into now. Because, all right, so now I talked about ask yourself's lack of self awareness. This kind of goes with that, too, but we can move into the next aspect. I'm going to go through a couple of aspects of this. I'm also going to go into his name the trade argument and why it's a horrific argument and doesn't work. And it's a scam. It's not a scam, but it's a game. It's a game, and he plays it. And if you don't know the game and like how his tactic of ambushing people and catching them by surprise, you'll get caught by it and you'll be trapped. But back to what we were saying here about arguing. But first, let me keep reading. Hope you're healthy and haven't picked up the... yeah, there hasn't been any cases around here. Oh, fuck, sorry. But I am very close to New York City, so it's like it's not impossible that it would get here. Cough into the mic more. I tried to mute, but I'm smoking the weed, and I hit it a little too hard. It happens. So, about arguing, arguing is boring. Like, people just want to argue all the time, and that's a weird thing that has happened with the internet. Honestly, I treat the internet the way I treat my life. Like, I don't go on the internet and act different than I do in real life. This is the way I act. I know sometimes I act tough. I do that in real life too. I'm not afraid of fighting. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody wants to fight with me, I'm not one of these people that backs out of, oh my god, he's gonna try to intimidate me. I've been in a million fights in my life. Like, I've gotten my ass kicked many times, and I've kicked ass. Like, that's regular life. That's just being a normal man of my age, I think, personally. But people like ask yourself, that's not who he is in real life. He wasn't raised in a place like how I was raised. He wasn't even raised in the time I was raised. And I think some of us older people that were raised outside of internet being around when we were kids, like, we didn't have internet. I mean, internet just started to get popular when I started high school, but everybody wasn't on it until, like, I was getting out of high school. Like, the 4 years after high school, well, through high school was like when it was picking up that whole time. And it wasn't until I was out of high school till everyone had internet, or, like, every family had a computer in their home to have it. So I didn't grow up with this with having an internet persona apart from my real life persona. But it feels like anybody who grew up with the internet has an internet persona apart from their real life persona, which is very weird to me. So it's weird to hear, like, nerdy people, like, ask yourself, who is a weird, uncomfortable social person, you could tell he's just a straight up nerd. Like, what we used to call nerds, not people who are into nerdy stuff, but people who are, like, socially inept, that we used to call nerds, like, that's what nerds are. That's what he is. And there's no way he's tough. There's no way he would raise his voice the way he does on the internet to anybody in public. But in the end, yeah, we don't like to argue. There's no point in it, especially as friends. You want to bring positives into each other's lives. So why, we can discuss things, we can discuss having differences, but to argue can lead to negative experiences. And for what? Like, when you don't make friends with people to delve into negative experiences. You make friends with people to bring joy into each other's lives and enjoy each other. And arguing is not enjoyable. It's so weird to find people who enjoy arguing. And ask yourself, as one of these people, he says he enjoys debating. Debating is boring as fuck. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, hey, Isaac, have some self-awareness that you're a minority in this. The vast majority of people do not enjoy debate. They think it's boring as fuck. On top of that, what you're doing is not debate. Being on YouTube is not debating. You are not an intellectual. You're not a master debater. You know what I'm saying? You're not any of this shit. You're a YouTuber. That's all you are. leave debates to real shit, like where people are doing it in halls with a moderator and an audience. That's debate. What you're doing is just fucking. It's like team sports. Like, I'm gonna defend my side, you defend your side, and we're gonna butt heads. You know, and nobody really wins. It's each side says they win, right? Like that's always what happens. Both sides say they win. The fans of both sides say the people they're a fan of won because that's all they care about. This isn't debate. This is like that internet blood sports bullshit that I wasn't into anyway. I mean, I know a lot of people were and it got popular, but I wasn't into it. I thought it was boring, to be honest with you. I remember when it got big and everybody was on it and they're like, yeah, this guy, Mr. Medicare, is going to go on and do blood sports against, blah, 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 Nick Fuentes or whoever, and everybody's like, oh, and they all jump in to watch it. I would watch that shit for like 5 minutes and be like, wow, this is boring. Like, debate is fucking boring. I'd rather discuss things. If we have a difference of opinion on something or we understand reality different, and I'd rather just discuss it with each other. There's no real point in debating, at least in the format they say. It doesn't make sense. But I can go into, name the trait is a trap. It's meant to corner you, and he tells you you're dodging his questions when you push back against his cornering. Exactly what he's trying to do is imagine yourself in the street and you have to fight this guy, and in fighting this guy, he keeps moving forward, backing you into a corner of an alley or something, and he's trying to back you into that corner. You wouldn't let yourself get backed into that corner, right? You'd move to the side, you'd try to circle around, you'd push him back, or you'd strike forward and not let him pressure you into backing into this corner. What he says is, oh, you're dodging the question, is really you not getting backed into the corner. He's trying to pigeonhole you into, because that's the whole point of name the trait, is to pigeonhole you into a statement so that he can say, this is inconsistent. But the problem is, what you're talking about is far too complicated to pigeonhole into one statement. You just can't do it. It's an extremely complicated difference that lies between, naming a trait between an animal and a human being, that if it was true of the other would make it, that a holocaust, which we'll get into that too. But you can't pigeonhole it into one trait. It just doesn't work. There's huge complex differences between humans and animals. You can't do that. That's why he has an argument with Sinatra Says, and he says, well, if we take your mother and we change her slightly genetically to make her just slightly not human, there's no such thing. That there's already right there's a problem with this analogy. There's no such thing as slightly not human. You're human or you're not human. A slightly not human would still mean you're human. You're just slightly not. You know what I'm saying? Not fully not. So it doesn't work. And on top of that, if we want to go into creatures we do eat, then we'd be turning his mother into a cow. And I could promise you, his mother living as a cow is torture and suffering. And she would rather be holocausted and eaten than live her life inside the body of a cow. So, argument defeated right there. And I don't know why Sinatra Says never said that. I wouldn't want to live like a cow. And if I lived as a cow, I hope my mother would know that my answer to that would be, please kill me, and feed me to a village or something, because I'm a lot of meat and I might as well be used to feed a bunch of villages, but I don't want to live as a cow. And I know for sure my mother wouldn't want to live as a cow. So the answer to that would be yes, Holocaust them. But that's why his argument sucks. It's extremely complex. Here's one video he does with Baz, or Bass, however you want to say it, Bass, whatever. In this argument, I don't know, this guy didn't do very well. I don't know why he didn't think of certain answers, or goes back on his answer, because Ask Yourself completely ignores him. We're going to listen to a little bit of it. He completely ignores his original. This is where, hold on, let me pause it so it doesn't start off loud. But this is where how you know that it's all bullshit, what Ask Yourself is doing, and NTT, or NAMTRAT, is a bullshit argument, because he completely ignores Bass's... is his name Bass or Bass? Do you guys know? I remember watching him, a few videos of his back in the day, but I don't remember him very well, or what he said his name was. But right off the bat, he's. Let's listen to a
So
little bit,
I
and I'll show you.
guess when I talk about some
Sounds really
kind
well.
of ethical topic like this, I'm usually just trying to understand what exactly the other person's view is. So I just ask you like a few questions. So obviously, as you said in your prior conversation, you think that the animal holocaust
The
is
animal
morally acceptable,
holocaust.
right?
Yes.
And if we were to replace those animals with humans, would that situation be morally acceptable?
No.
Yeah,
Okay, and
good answers.
what is it that's true of that situation when it happens to animals? Which, if true of that situation when it happens to humans, would cause you to say that that's morally acceptable.
See, all right. So already, that's already a pigeonholing right there. The way he phrases that question. What is true in that situation that, if true of humans, would make it equally moral, right? So like, it's okay to kill humans because of the same trait that's making it different from animals. That's already pigeonholing you and trying to separate you from your answer being, well, the fact that we're humans, that we're of the same species, humanity. People use different terms for it, but the point is, we're a different species from these animals. We are not the same as these animals. In some categorical places, we are the same, but there are many multitudes of complex differences between us and the rest of the animals. We all understand this. Every human being understands this. Even children understand this. Okay, so it's like it's dumb that you have to explain this to him, but you don't, because he knows that's the answer. This is why he splits it up in the questioning from the beginning. The very first thing he does is split it up. What is true of this situation that, if true of this situation, would make it the same? You can't make that situation the same. And if you did make it the same, then it changes. You know what I'm saying? If you made those animals and turned them into humans because the trait is to be human of the same species, then if you turn those animals into humans, then guess what? Now they are humans. You don't eat them. As simple as that. Or if the humans, you give them the traits of the animals, then guess what? Now they are animals. They are no longer humans. And even if we're just talking about biologically, and we took the intelligence of all humans and biologically put them in the bodies of animals, that's torture. You just lowered the level of a being. You made them lesser of a being. Nobody wants to be lesser of a being. Like, there's horror movies on this where people get transferred their minds into like the body of these grotesque like pig creatures and shit, and they're like, I'm suffering the terror of being this fucking pig. You know what I'm saying? When I used to be human, this fucking sucks. Kill me. That it's not difficult to see. I mean, I look at the island of Dr. Moreau. That's a great story where he genetically creates these spliced creatures that are half animal, half humans. And what happens is that the half animal, half humans live this tortured existence of not knowing what they are. Are we human? Are we not men? And they end up going crazy in the end and fucking going back to their savage animal ways because they couldn't deal with the fact of being a lesser being than humans. Like a lower level of life. They're monsters, basically, because they are not human. They hated it. And this is the thing. That's why it just doesn't work. It's just a shitty argument. Name the trait is, not only is it a shitty argument, I think, personally, I think he knows it's a shitty argument. It's a trick, and I think he knows it's a game, and his game is to pigeonhole you. This is why you end up stalemating every time. I've had these discussions with his proteges, and they try it on me. Sure, they're not going to be as good at it as he is. They're just learning from him. But it's funny. This is why I used to call them template warriors. There was another Isaac that would come in here and try to argue with me, and I called him the template warrior. And this is because all he does, his entire argument, is a template. He tries to follow it, and the second you throw a wrench on that template, it gets fucked, and they go, oh, let's go to a different thing, and they'll switch over to a different argument and try to get you on that because you just threw a wrench in their template. They don't know how to continue that track of thought now that you've gone in a different direction than the direction they wanted you to go, because they think everybody's going to give the same answers, but everybody doesn't give the same answers. Everybody has a different concept of life. Everybody has different viewpoints. Sure, you're going to have people with a majority of viewpoints, and their answer is going to be mostly the same. But you're going to have people like me who, like, say, for instance, I don't find a moral problem with humans eating each other. But being of the same species, I think we all afford each other equal rights. Therefore, I can't kill you to eat you. You can't kill me to eat me. And that's why we don't factory farm humans. You know what I'm saying? Because we afford each other the same rights. But in the end, I don't care if somebody eats me after my death. My body is just an empty shell that's going to be laying there and going to waste. Like, you can eat it, you can bury it and try to bring a new life from it. Whatever you want to do with my body, shoot it into space. I don't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Or burn it. I don't care. And I think that, yeah, it doesn't matter what happens to bodies after death. That's it. It's dead. So that's why I have no moral qualms with cannibalism, as long as you're not taking away somebody's right to live, which is an interspecies contract that we have with each other as a communal species, because we are a communal species. That's how we got to where we are now, is by being community, by being being in commune with each other. Of course, that doesn't work every single time. We have wars and stuff like that, but usually when we do advance and excel, it's usually through teamwork and humans working together. That's the kind of beings we are. Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, that's gonna...
But he says nothing. There is no trait, right? But there is. He explains it here.
Because I will never argue that it's okay to kill millions of humans.
Yeah, see, now this is also the argument I place with. This is why I say arguing veganism, vegans always come from the wrong angle and the wrong perspective, because they're arguing it as if it was vegan versus anti-vegan. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the argument they try to set up. But ask yourself, NTT doesn't really do that too much, so I don't think it's really with that stuff, but this happens a lot with vegan arguments in general, is that they basically come at the argument of veganism versus anti-veganism, because since they're vegan, they see everyone else as just being anti-them. Which kind of works the other way around too. If you see vegans, they're anti-meat, right? But in the end, I'm not pro-meat and I'm not anti-meat. So that it's already coming at me at the wrong angle if you wanted to trap me into something or get me to see something as a moral inconsistent, because you're coming at me in ways that I'm not promoting that vegans eat meat, so I don't need an argument to convince them. They need an argument to convince me. And this is where Ask Yourself fucks up right off the bat when he says to defend your claim, because nobody's making a claim. That's the problem, is people aren't pro-meat or anti-meat. Sure, there are some people that are pro-meat, but most people aren't pro-meat or anti-meat. They just pro-food. They're just pro-eating. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have arguments for those things. They don't care to have arguments for those things. I don't care. I've never in my life cared to have an argument for or against veganism. It's not an interest of mine. Diets aren't interests of mine. I just don't care. But, you go through this shit on the internet and people think, oh, you'll defend your claim, and it makes you think about it. But in thinking about it, it's really easy, and really weird that these people can't catch this, but I think some of them do. They just get annoyed and say, go away, and he takes that as a win. But really, it's, your arguments are annoying. They're a trap. I can see they're a trap clearly. Like, you're not even hiding the fact, and so you're just aggravating me, and you're arguing in bad faith, and I don't like it. You know what I'm saying? So people are like, go away, you're dull,
The reason why.
But he gave a good reason why here. He said, the reason why is that I will never say it's okay to kill humans. What he means by this is he's basically saying, in this scenario where you're saying, it's okay to kill humans, but why isn't it okay? Animals, but why isn't it okay to do that with humans? His argument is because, what I said earlier, because we are of the same species. We afford each other the same rights. We apply the golden rule to each other because we are the same species. We are a communal species. It's what we do. No, sorry if you're hearing me slurp my coffee. But they do pose an argument to that where they would say that that's like an appeal to nature. I'm not against, when people use appeal to nature, I'm not against appealing to nature. I understand in some forms nature is bad, but in some things we just have to accept that that's what we are. You know what I'm saying? We are communal animals, and that's not something that's bad. So why can't we accept the nature of that and be like, I'm accepting this of the nature of this? It's not bad to be communal. You know what I'm saying? I don't have an argument against that part of our nature. I'm going to use that. That's part of our nature. We are a communal species, and I'm 100% for that community. You know what I'm saying? For us to be a communal species above all other species or under other species if we find one ahead of us, but we're going to stick together. And in doing so, we afford each other the same rights, or at least we should.
It's because I think humans have a moral responsibility to each other.
And that's what he says. Humans have a moral responsibility to each other. We don't have a moral responsibility with anything else. We don't have a contract with anything else. It's only with us. With dogs, we kind of do. And this was an argument that came up before where people are like, oh, well, why wouldn't you eat a dog? And I'm like, well, first off, I would eat a dog. I'm not against eating dog. I just wouldn't kill a dog myself to eat it. But that's my own qualm with it. But I'm not, if somebody else eats a dog, I'm going to say, all right, well, you ate a dog. Don't give a shit. But I can understand why people don't like that concept. And it's because dogs have a special place in humanity biologically. You know what I'm saying? We bred them to be our partners. They are a partner animal to us that we naturally growing with them. They see us different than other animals see us. We see them different than we see other animals. There's objectively become a species that are, been domesticated with us. So we don't see them as food, And there's other animals we don't see as food that we haven't domesticated, We don't eat bonobos, Bonobos are very close to human. We don't eat them. But this is the same for most species. Most species do not cannibalize. You know what I'm saying? They do in dire situations, but most species do not naturally cannibalize. You will find some, but the vast majority of them don't. And it's because that's natural. It's for species to commune and become one group, and not see each other as food or, other things, that sometimes they'll fight for other shit and kill each other for other things like hierarchy, but they don't eat, they'll eat each other in dire situations, but it's not something that's natural to them that happens all the time. Like, lions don't eat lions every day,
Not only because we are the same species, but we all have the same capacity to understand morality, and we all want a
Here's where this goes bad. You're going to hear it now.
Functioning society in some way. Even though those who are committing the Holocaust, as evil as they are, in some twisted sense of their mind, are doing so because they think that it's going to create a functioning society.
All right, so now realize Base gave, I'm going to call him Base from now on. Base gave more than one answer. Let's just say it doesn't matter how many answers, but just keep in mind he gave more than one answer. Ask yourself, does not like this. The trait argument does not like it. It does not like multiple answers. At least, especially not at the same time. It wants to break things. This has happened to me before in an argument where one of his people or one of his proteges or Klingons that are like feeding off his fucking arguments came to me and placed that argument to me as well, and I gave him multiple answers all at the same time. And he tried, well, let's go one by one, he said. And I said, no, I don't want to go one by one. The argument isn't one by one. The argument is all of the multitude of complex differences at the same time. We can't split those up. They all come together. They don't come separately. You know what I'm saying? It's not like some assembly required. They all come at the same fucking time. They all exist together. It is the complex multitude of differences that make us different from animals. You can't split those up. But that's what he wanted. He kept saying, no, but if we go through them one by one, we can eliminate them. And I was like, yeah, but maybe it's the culmination of all of them that makes the difference, not them separately. You know what I'm saying? That you can't just separate them. To me personally, you can't just separate them. That's a terrible argument. It's a terrible way to go about it. Those differences are there, and they're there together. They work in tandem to create a different species or more complex species. But yeah, that already, if you take that angle, the argument's over. You stalemated right there, and it's never going to continue. He's going to constantly push you to name one thing or break it down to one thing or try to reduce all the complexity of the things that you said down to its simplest form and try to pigeonhole you into it. And that's what he does for the rest of this, is try to shove what, right here, what he said, Base said, he tries to shove that into moral agency. And at some point, you know, I don't know why Base doesn't go back. There's a couple times where he gets upset and he tells her, I already explained this to you, you know, and repeats himself over and over again. But eventually he lets Isaac pigeonhole him into one thing again. And that's how you lose this, because that's what he does. And I don't understand why people do that. Base should have stuck to his guns of his original answer right here, that he gave multiple answers. He should have stuck to that and said, nope, it's all of these things. It's all of these things. I will not argue with you one trait. I will argue all these traits all at the same time, you know, and that's it. But he doesn't. He lets him muscle him around.
Okay, now, I just want to make sure I'm understanding your answer. So, when I ask you...
See, here's... Ready? This is what he does. I just want to make sure I'm understanding your answer. Now he's going to twist his answer into one thing.
Of the first situation, the animal holocaust, that if true of the second, the human holocaust, would cause you to say it's morally acceptable. You say that there's nothing?
Already, he just asked, you say that there's nothing, completely ignored what he said after nothing. What he said was, there's nothing, because I will never accept the murder of humans because we are all the same species, plus we can also moral with each other, basically. I know that's not the proper way to say it, but I think you know what I mean. But we can moral with each other and agree on things morally and understand the concept of morality and why we are a community who does, you know, who's going to give each other the golden rule and all this shit, you know. Of course, there's many gray areas and we'll always argue over what, you know, over morality, but we can do that, whereas animals cannot. But that's what he's saying. But that's not a single trait. He also said it's because we have this contract with each other, because we're a single species. So there's multiple answers there. Already Ask Yourself has boiled it down to, oh, so you're saying nothing? You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's...
Then I'll never say that it's okay to kill lots of humans.
That's why I'm saying what he is to do that, which is perfect to call him Dr. Reductio, because he brings it up himself, but all he wants to do is reduce the entire argument into its most simple form. But when you're looking at it, all you can get is simple answers. This is why sometimes he'll say, oh yeah, I had an argument with this guy and I reduced him to absurdity. And it's like, yeah, you did that. You're the one who made him absurd. You gave him an absurd analogy that he had to answer to, which can only have absurd answers. Absurd situations call for absurd conclusions. It's just the way it is, you know, like... It's absurd in the first place. Of course the answer is going to be absolutely absurd. And you're going to say, I won because I reduced him to absurdity with your absurd fucking analogy. You're the one who did it.
Okay, so that's actually going to give you a contradiction if you say that. So
no, it doesn't give him a contradiction. He explained why it wasn't. Oh, fuck, I skipped. But you see how he said, that's going to give you a contradiction, because he's only accepting the answer of nothing, not anything he said afterwards. What he said afterwards explains how it's not a contradiction.
Is ethical, right? So you're going to get a contradiction that it isn't. Well, what's the easiest way to walk you through this? I guess I'll just lay out the whole argument for you. So,
all right. So now because Ask Yourself skipped his entire explanation of why he said nothing and completely ignored it. Now he's playing from the angle of, he doesn't understand my argument. Let me make it easy for him and walk him through it. So now he's already he's in asshole condescension mode. Right here already. This is why I would never even talk to him, because for one, there's no benefit for me at all. Secondly, it's just he just doesn't know how to talk to humans. I guess I could say he's kind of retarded in that sense when it comes to social interactions. Like, he doesn't know how to communicate with people. Like I said, if me and him talked in real life and he acted the way he does on the internet, I'd pop him one for sure. He's getting knock his teeth out. No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. So, that's why I wouldn't even be able to talk to him. First off, multiple reasons. First off, he's a liar and completely disingenuous, and he lied about us and our server, and I have proof of that. Did a whole stream of that like a year and a half ago. So already he has no expectation of honesty. Me talking to him, I have zero expectation that he'll come in good faith, that he'll be honest in anything he says, because he already lied to me, and I have no doubt I don't have any doubt in my mind that he'd go and lie about me to other people. He's done that. He did that before. So why have a conversation with somebody who, one, I don't think is going to be honest during the conversation, and two, I don't think is going to be honest after the conversation? That, again, no benefit to me. What's the benefit to me being lied to and then talking to somebody who's just going to lie about the way our conversation went, you know? No point. And, you know, and since he has a history of doing that, exactly. And no self-awareness to say, even with proof shown to him to his face, to say, oh, yeah, I did lie there. You know, I was trying to be cool or whatever. No self-awareness. So I have no expectation that he'll change or act any differently in any conversation with anyone. So another reason why Devin won't talk to him either. We know he's a bad faith actor. Why would we want to talk to someone like that? And it brings no benefit to any of us. I mean, him talking to me, it wouldn't bring a benefit to him either. I'm a nobody. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know why he would want to, but he would probably want to just to get at Devin. But in the end, it's no benefit to me either, so I don't know why I would do that. His buddy, he used to call himself Alf Wrecker, Isaac M. He was sending me DMs. And he was trying to get me to go into... he was telling me Isaac was telling him to try to get me, wants to talk to me and get me to go in their server and this and that. And I was like, for what? He was like, oh yeah, you can wreck him in front of everybody. And I'm like, what? Why would I care about wrecking him in front of everybody? What is the benefit of that? Like, how does that help me at all? What does that do for me? It doesn't do shit. Happy to wreck Alf Benny if he wants to come by the server, link on channel. See, look, I was just talking about how useless it is to talk about talking with him. And predictably, he comes in here and goes right back to debate me, bro. Because he's a fucking robot. He's a socially inept robot. So predictable. Anything you say... Like, anything you do, you know exactly what his reaction to it is going to be. And it's so repetitive, it happens all over and over again. Come by the Discord. What's wrong with the conversation? You're talking about him, dude. So? I don't give a shit. Am I not allowed to talk about people? So, like, let's say I did a video about Leonardo DiCaprio. Does that mean if Leonardo DiCaprio wants to talk to me, I have to let him? Like, that doesn't even make sense. It quite literally is never a conversation with people in the AY Discord, though. Yeah, that's a good point, too. I've never seen Ask Yourself have a real conversation. Almost every time he spurgs out. I'm not saying he gets loud every time. Sometimes it's calm, but it's very spurgy, nerdy. It doesn't go anywhere. It goes in circles. I did name the trait conversation with his buddy, the other Isaac. And what happened there? It just went in circles. It just totally stalemated and went in circles. Of course, he sees it as winning, but it's not winning. It's stalemate. It's a stalemate because you're trying to pigeonhole someone into a corner. And when you can't, you get lost in the argument and don't know what to do. So. Alpha is I don't have a view. Yeah, Alpha is a level 0 carnist. For one, I don't even eat meat that much. And... Oh, damn it, I didn't finish reading that, Marina. But that's fine. You could ban him. Who can't defend his view in a debate. Well, see, this is the problem already. They missed the beginning of this where I already explained this, that the vegans come at this from the wrong angle. I don't have a view to defend. How can I defend a view I don't have? You're the guys with the view, and you're trying to put your view on me. So there's nothing to defend. For me, it's you have to try to convince me. That's the argument. Alf, you're so predictable. You're just repeating the same shit Devin says. Am I? I don't understand where. Can you tell me which? Can you show me examples? But I mean, in the end, almost all of Isaac's followers try to use his same arguments. They've come to me before and try to use the same exact arguments. So it's not like there's any comparison. I mean, you can say I'm being predictable repeating the same shit, but that goes both ways. So who cares? But Isaac, you know what's funny about Isaac, though, if you want to compare things, is Isaac has zero growth on YouTube. He's been totally plateaued. I don't care that I'm growing. See, this is the difference, is I don't care if I'm growing, because this is just a hobby for me. I have a life outside of the internet. I don't need to make money on the internet. I do this for fun. Shut the fuck up. Imagine vegans calling other people predictable. Yeah, exactly, Marina. But yeah, I find it funny. It's really like some socially awkward shit, man. Did you hear? I mean, let me play some of this guy. This argument with Bass that I just finished. Maybe I'll play a little more of it. But it's look, we're only 2 minutes in, and here, and Isaac already fucked up his entire argument. The problem is that Bass falls for it, and he lets him pigeonhole him into one thing. And that which is funny, because Ask Yourself completely does not understand what Bass is saying. Bass is saying it's this, and making like it be a couple of things. So Ask Yourself himself says, oh, so we'll call that moral agency. So already he's trying to pigeonhole all his answers into one term that means one specific thing. That's not what Bass was saying. He wasn't saying moral agency was his answer. That was part of his answer. But what Ask Yourself has to do in order to pigeonhole him into his statement and make it be a contradiction is he has to force him into the whole of moral agency. Which is, like I said, a singular answer. You can't give him multiple answers, or this game doesn't work. It's a game. It's a game of, I'm going to corner you. But he can't corner you if you have multiple answers. So he has to reduce it to one thing. Dr. Reductio style, right? So at one point he says, we're going to call it moral agency. Bass says, if that's what you want to call it, then okay, for the sake of the argument. But he's saying, in saying so, he's saying, then we're understanding that the phrase that you're saying, moral agency, means all the things I was saying. Not just moral agency, but also the other things, as in like being the same species and having a contract with each other as a species. That all gets lumped into moral agency because Ask Yourself wants it to be one thing. And then when it contradicts that, Ask Yourself starts, but you said it was moral agency, and then Bass getting mad, like, oh, he's like, but we understood it to mean something else. You're the one who said you want to understand it as what I'm saying it is, so I told you what it was. It's really weird, and Ask Yourself doesn't get it.
Between the humans and animals. Wherever the point is where they cannot reciprocate or understand morality, that's the...
Okay, so if we were to, for example, if everyone were just disabled, do you think that it would be fine in that situation to be holocausting people?
You said if everyone was disabled?
Yeah, say that we're talking about disabled people, right? Is it okay to Holocaust them because they can't do that? They're not able to reciprocate morality?
Hold on. I wanted to address this Alfredo guy. I'm not saying his argument is bad, is wrong. I'm saying his argument is a game. It's a scam. It's a trick. It's like a parlor trick. Like, hey, look at my hand over here while I'm doing while I'm making this card change and disappear with this hand. It's what do you call that? Misdirection. It's misdirection. It tries to pigeonhole you. When you don't get pigeonholed, it turns into a stalemate because the person keeps trying to shove you into that corner and you don't allow yourself to go into that corner. So it stays there and it keeps going. I just want to watch a fight. Please go into... I mean, I'm not a... if you want to watch a fight, go pay for Ask Yourself to get a flight over here. I will have somebody record us actually physically fighting. But besides that, I don't really care to debate with somebody. Debate is boring. I don't find fun in it. And also, like I said, there's zero benefit to that. So I don't see what the benefit is to me talking with him. I don't know. Imagine what that server is like. I know I've been in there. It's really spurgy and nerdy and, oh, well, what about this argument? Is this moral? What's this argument about? If it's a scam, can you demonstrate that? I already did. You either weren't paying attention or you got here late, but I already did, and I'm still in the process of saying how it's a scam. I mean, Ask Yourself already scammed Bass in this argument. 4 minutes in, and he's already scammed him and argued in bad faith.
Well, you said, well, I mean, if everyone was disabled, it would change the entire...
Already, look, that's another trick. So, disabled people, nothing of what Bass said is about disabled people. Bringing in disabled people makes no sense in this argument. Base didn't say that his argument was people who are of low level intelligence of humans. He didn't say it was humans who don't have the ability to moral. That was only part of his answer. Again, disabled humans are humans. If you take his answer that he gave from the very beginning after saying nothing and then explaining why nothing was not a contradiction, right off the bat, the first thing he said was because they're humans. I will never agree to killing humans. The reason he's saying that is because he has a commune with humans. So, even disabled humans or humans of super low intelligence or vegetable humans are still humans. That doesn't work. Move to something else. But that's the thing, is he wants to pigeonhole him and reduce him to absurdity so bad that he completely ignored the answer Base gave him from the beginning. Completely
principle
ignored it.
Of what it meant to be.
Okay.
The only reason we have disabled means that in principle they're not functioning the same way a normal human would.
Okay, so what you said would have to change in order for it to be ethical to Holocaust humans is that they would have to not be able to reciprocate morality. So if we have a bunch of humans who are lower in, like intelligence, if they can't understand morality, they can't think through moral concepts in the same kind of way, right? If we just have a bunch of disabled people, is it ethical to Holocaust?
See, now he's going through disabled people. Why? How did this get to disabled people? Doesn't make any sense. This argument is terrible. It's like, this is the problem with a template. It's not going where he wanted it to go, so now he's trying to force it to where he wanted it to go, which is disabled people. This is the first time he's done disabled people to multiple people and say, well, you would kill disabled people. He does the same thing to Sinatra says. He's like, oh, yeah, well, you said you would kill disabled people, so I don't know. Which is probably bullshit. He led him to say that. He didn't, he tricked him into it by eliminating all nuance, eliminating all complexity, boiling it down to its most simplest terms, where you're just lumping up all these things into one term, just like he's doing now with Base. He hasn't gotten to that part yet, but at some point in this, he basically lumps everything Base says into the term moral agency, which is bullshit. That's not what his argument was. And Base even says, that's not what my argument is, but if you want to use that term as like a substitute for all the things I'm saying for the sake of simplicity, then we can do that, then that's fine. I will accept that. And then afterwards, Ask Yourself plays the trick of, oh, but you said moral agency. Your answer was moral agency. And, Base has to keep explaining like 3 or 4 times. Yes, but didn't we say that moral agency was just a substitute word, that we're accepting that word to mean everything I said as part of my argument, which wasn't just moral agency. That's why it gets funny, man. And ridiculous.
Now, I'll say something here.
No.
We'll keep that question on the table, but I want you to kind
of... the answer would still be no.
Okay, yeah, right. Just give me a second to kind of explain, because you and Cog kind of went around.
Alright, this guy's an idiot. I'm banning him.
I want you to sort of understand,
later, Alfredo.
The idea of what's happening there, right? So basically, all I'm doing.
I feel ashamed to have the same name as that dude. He's such an idiot.
These two situations, the human and the animal Holocaust, and just find me kind of what the relevant moral feature is that separates them from each other. So.
Oh, hold on. I banned him and I didn't read what he was saying, but now I read a part of what he was saying and I wanted to respond to that. But yeah, a conversation where I call him a spurg to his face, like his actual face, because on the internet is not in his face. If I called him a spurg on Discord, that's not calling him a spurg to his face. I will call him a spurg to his face if he wants that, 100%. I'm cool with that. This argument is terrible. You just said you weren't saying that as an oh my god, what a fucking douche. It's terrible because it's a game. Yeah, he is thick. You really that thick? Yeah. Yeah, it's douchey. Dude's an idiot.
When you say that, it's something like...
He didn't even catch what I was saying by saying it was not a bad argument.
Okay with murdering disabled people. That's not why I start talking...
This is where I say how these people don't know how to talk like human beings. They don't understand normal human being interactions.
But I think you also don't realize that it's an...
Because they're spurgs.
The view you put forward.
Incel spurgs.
If it were actually...
They don't get laid. They don't communicate with people well.
Difference is just the ability to reciprocate morality. And I'd be able to give you a possible world in that series where the...
But you see, already, Ask Yourself is pigeonholing it right here. He's saying, well, it has to be... He's trying to make it boil down bases arguments into
say
one thing,
that,
like he says.
it's something like the ability to reciprocate. Now,
See, like if we're saying it's something like the ability to reciprocate morality, already he's trying to boil down his argument into one thing so that he can push that one thing into a corner and shove him into that corner where he can't get out. But as long as you don't let yourself get shoved in that corner, it doesn't happen.
That's not why I start.
This is just like a real fight. Like, you know, if you let somebody corner you, you're going to get fucking stomped, you know, but obviously you're going to fight back with all your power to get away from getting into that corner, because you know once you're shoved in that corner, you're fucked.
Actually the case that the relevant moral difference is just the ability to reciprocate morality, then I'd be able to give you a possible world in that series where the people are just disabled, and you would have to say it's okay to Holocaust them.
No, that doesn't. But that's the problem, is that it's not one thing. You see that? He just explained the trick to him, to his face. Well, not to his face, but you know what I mean. He just explained his trick to him. He said, if you could just say that it's this one thing, then I can reverse that scenario and show you a way that that one thing was different to this thing, and you know, and if we put them the same, then you would have to say that you would kill these things, you know. And he just explained the entire trick to him. But the problem is, it's a trick. You don't have to give him one thing. That's not reality. We live in reality. In reality, there are multiple complex differences between humans and animals. And even saying trait, even using the word trait is a general. You know, ask them to explain what you mean by trait. You know what I'm saying? You can go into that, but that's a waste of time too. But even using that term is a, you know, he's not giving you something specific, you know. He's not saying name a gene or, you know, or an evolutionary trait. It's nothing specific. So especially since he's not giving you any specific, it's even easier for you to give multiple answers. But yeah, the answer is we're all humans. That's it. We're different. There's nothing you can do to equalize that. And if you did, then it's equal. And that situation is different. If you, like I said, if you take what makes humans humans and apply that to cows, those cows are no longer cows. They are now humans. You know what I'm saying? And if you apply what makes a cow to a human, then that human is no longer a human. Now it is a cow. And you can eat that person. Because they're no longer people. But let's continue with this.
Well, the thing is, well, the principal point that I was trying to get across, I think, to everyone, is that it's not one element, but it's a whole. The whole thing is the sum. Like, the argument is the sum of all of its parts together. It's not one whole.
There you go, Base just told him right there.
So it's one.
But trust me, Ask Yourself is not going to accept this. Isaac is a tool to his template. Anytime you stray from his template, he's going to try to pigeonhole you back into it.
Human beings,
and he does.
In principle. So even if you have special characteristics, you have babies who can't understand it, or you have old people with dementia,
exactly. Even if you have these special characteristics,
they're still human beings,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
The vast majority of us as human beings all understand morality, and we all can reciprocate it. We can reciprocate it to these old people who were younger, and we can reciprocate it to the children who will become adults and be able to go about and function in society. And even though we have disabled people, they still have families, they still have people who care about them. Thus,
now pay attention. Base is explaining it very well. This is his answer. Watch Ask Yourself not accept this and try to break it down to one thing again. Watch.
In order to respect those family members who care about those disabled people, we don't hurt them. So it's all one whole thing. They also have to be humans as well. Now, let's say you wanted to create some separate, like, alien species, okay?
Yeah, exactly what Marino is saying. They don't listen. They ask questions and refuse to listen to the answers. They argue with points that were never said. Yeah, that's kind of the point. And it's the reason for that is because they are following the template. When you don't give them the answers they want, they refuse to accept it, and they will continue asking you that question or continue pushing you towards giving them the answer they want, or they won't accept it. Ask Yourself does that what Sinatra says, where he was like, stop, stop, and he wouldn't let him give him an answer that's not the answer he wanted. He just wouldn't let him, and he wouldn't listen to it regardless. If he heard 3 words out of an argument and it wasn't the argument he was trying to hear, he would just start yelling and being loud and trying to get him to stop.
Yeah, like,
oh, Devin's here. What's up, Devin? Yeah, Ask Yourself was in here and his buddies, and they were like, you could come in the Discord and argue with him. Why don't you come? And Ask Yourself was like, you could come, stop being a bitch and come argue. But why would you want to argue with somebody? And I've said this a million times. He knows this. I've said it to him. I've said it to his face. That he is a liar. He's proven himself to be a liar. There's no way I would have any expectation of him being honest in any way. Like, towards me or after talking to me, because that's what he did last time, was be dishonest towards me, lie to me, and then when I went and then found out that he went around telling people that our conversation went completely different than it did. So what's the point of talking to somebody that I have zero expectation of honesty for? That's just one reason. There's multiple reasons not to talk to him. But yeah, I don't talk to liars or people I know for a fact are liars and are going to lie about my conversation.
Like some invader or something, or like some stranded species.
Yeah, see, Base already knows where this is going, and he's taking it to these. He's like, yeah, so even if you do these retarded scenarios that don't make any sense, these absurd analogies you want to make, or even if you try to take the characteristics of one and put it on a human, that human is still human. We're not going to Holocaust disabled people because they're still humans.
Like
that's his answer.
Thing.
How do you not understand
the
that?
Question is, well, they can understand morality and they can communicate with us as human beings. Would it be okay to kill and farm them? Personally, actually, I would think even consistently, no, I don't think that would make sense. The reason why is because even though they're a separate species at that point, they can understand morality, they can reciprocate it, they can communicate with us, and they can function in our society. So we can work with these alien invaders if they can work with us functionally. Now, if some creature was to come crash on our planet and this thing was just like some kind of monster and it just rampaged and just ate anything and everything, would we then treat that the same way we would treat the intelligent alien?
Look at this. Oh my god, how funny is this? We're watching Ask Yourself screen. He's doing other shit while this guy's explaining the argument to him, and he's got the right argument. If an alien species came to eat us, if they're more than advanced than us, then and we can't reason with them, then they're going to eat us. If it's a creature that's below us and it's just a creature that's eating everything and it has no intelligence or ability for us to reason with him, then we'll kill that because that's basically an animal. He's explaining it very well. Ask Yourself is going through his announcements, looking at other channels. He's not even listening because he's not getting the answer he wants. He wants one single term. He doesn't want you to the second you give him a multitude of reasons at once, it doesn't matter to him. That's not the answer he wants. He's just going to keep trying to pigeonhole you. And he does.
No, that would be
8 minutes in. Base has done a great job with his argument. Explained it very well. I understood it from the beginning.
Unreasonable.
Ask Yourself is not going to accept
that's
it.
That's the same way we treat all the other different creatures. Not the same way, but I mean, in terms of like more reciprocation, the alien creature that's eating everything is going to be treated similarly, in my mind, as any wolf, any coyote, any bear, any cow, any pig, any chicken. We don't consider them a moral agent. They can't function in our society. They can't work with us. We can't do anything with them like we can with humans. So it's just unreasonable to treat them in that same way is the point that I'm making ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a good argument, but he's not going to take it. See, he wasn't even paying attention.
Cog would call that a ramble, right?
Cog would call that a ramble. That was not a ramble. That was concise and made total sense. And this is why but he's doing that because he doesn't want to accept it, and he's not going to. He wants to go back to pigeonholing him into one term, which is moral agency. He wants to boil it down to morality, which is not which is only a small part of what he's saying is the reason why the ethics are different between humans and animals.
Points that you take to be relevant, but the problem is that we were talking about something very specific, right? And we kind of got off topic. So the kind of question I was asking you is, what exactly is it that's true of the animal holocaust?
There you go. He's asking the question again. Base gave him a good answer. He answered that question. The exact same question he's answering now was just answered very well and very elaborately with even giving examples of absurdity that Ask Yourself likes so much. It's like he did his argument for him, like he kind of like steelmanned it there. He's like, I know you're going to give me these arguments at some point, so I'm just going to give you the answers to them now. And Ask Yourself, instead of accepting them and try to argue against them, did not like it and is now going to say, you can't answer with that. Let me ask you the question again, and I want a simple one-word answer, basically.
If proved the human Holocaust would cause you to say that it's ethical.
Hold on, let's get to this Holocaust thing real quick. He keeps saying Holocaust. I want you guys to understand, if you look it up, if you look up the term Holocaust, look up the dictionary definition, Holocaust is not how he is using it. He's doing it on purpose. He knows he's doing it on purpose because it's not hard. I just wrote Holocaust definition, and every dictionary gives me very similar terms and very specific meanings for this. A Holocaust can be a huge deaths, right? Like huge murders, but it's especially that with fire. Using that term outside of fire, off of a mass burning death, is extremely rare to use the term Holocaust for. So now he's using it in a way that, while accurate and can be true, is something that is rarely done. And in knowing that it is rarely done and is not what is the most common use of that word, or at least like the most common 5 uses of that word, is dishonest. And that's part of his dishonesty of what I say, that you can't trust this guy. He is a liar. I've proven he's a liar, and he continues to do it, and he knows this is a trick. He knows his argument's a trick. He's got all his fans licking off his fucking hands this fucking little trick that he's doing that everybody can see. Everybody outside of it can see. Unless you get caught with it like by surprise, it's a bullshit argument. A dictionary where he's a template warrior. That's what I used to call the other Isaac. He used to come with me with Ask Yourself's templates. It's like, oh, you've been studying his templates and now you're coming over here and trying it on me? That's cute. And and I just totally stalemated him, because that's usually what happens with that.
And I've told you over and over again.
Yes, he's telling him again. I told you over and over again.
No, that's a whole other answer. Right?
No, that's not a whole other answer. Incorrect. That's the answer to the question you're asking. You just don't want to accept it. You said, what if true in this and that would cause you to Holocaust these if they were the same? And he's saying, I will never accept killing humans. That's an answer. He has a commune with humans. He does not accept humans killing humans. That's the golden rule within a species. He does not accept that. He accepts that for humans and not outside of that. That's his answer. You just don't want to accept it.
So
it's ridiculous.
Things, actually. So if you say that there is no feature, that's when we'll get the contradiction, right? Because if we change all the features, we're just talking about the animal Holocaust, and you've already said that situation's acceptable.
I could watch him as he spurts. Yeah, he is such a spurt.
Make it ethical, right? Because once we change all the features, we're talking about a situation.
He's already changed this argument. You see that? He's arguing something that based it in argument.
Right, that separates these situations morally. There has to be.
And then my response to that.
Yeah, and then my response to that. And he was adding on to that.
Right.
To morally.
So, one second. So I want us to be clear about where we are. Okay, so the initial question is, what is it that separates those two situations morally? Now, you've given different answers. So one of them that you've brought up once or twice.
See how he's already trying to separate the answers. He said you've given multiple answers. Now he admitted that he's given multiple answers. But if you notice, the entire time he's been trying to just stick to one of those answers, as opposed to arguing the culmination of those answers. And trying to bring it down to one thing, just so he can catch him at that contradiction, and then they'll never get past that, because it never does. That's exactly what ends up happening too. We're not going to watch this whole thing until.
So we understand that answer produces a contradiction, right? We're done with that one.
No, you're not done with that, because that's part of the other answers. He should have never said sure there. That's not true. You're not done with that one.
Do you actually agree with that, or are you just saying?
Well, I'm not really sure how else I can articulate.
Yeah, Base is already. There you go. This guy, he's already upset. He's already done with this conversation. You can tell he's already like, I don't know in any other way how I can articulate my argument without you trying to again play your game of circling back around. I'm just gonna ask it again and hope he gives me just one answer, and that's super simple for me to stick him in a corner with, as opposed to his answer that's complex, because the difference between humans and animals is not simple. It is a multitude of things that's crazy deep levels of complexity. You can't just bear it down to one thing to make it, oh well, if humans had hair on their butts and like fucking, and these animals don't, then what makes it, who gives a, that's such stupid arguments. Why would you boil it down to such simple things? This isn't a simple argument. Complex situations demand complex arguments. Things go to absurdity because you take them there.
I keep telling you guys.
Yeah, I keep telling you guys.
I'm not going to say that if true of one thing X, it's okay to harm humans this way.
Yep.
I'm never going to say that.
I think we just need a bit more clarity on how
no, you don't. Works. No, you don't. You have the clarity. You just don't want it.
Why it's a contradiction. So, just picture.
I think you're appreciating why it's a contradiction. It's not.
World where we've got a human holocaust, or
where's the contradiction?
In the last world, we've got an animal holocaust, and we're just asking what features have to be changed before we have a situation where it's morally acceptable, right? So let's just try.
You'd have to change those creatures into humans, because then they would be humans. How do you not understand that? In his argument, he's saying that because they're humans, he wouldn't accept Holocaust in them because it's his species. It's part of his species.
Okay.
So you would have to make the cows his species.
Of the first situation to be the same.
Ridiculous. How he doesn't understand that. How easy is that? Simple.
We're just going to get the last situation.
Hey, Nina.
Once we change all the features, we're just talking about that last. Okay, right. So if you were to say,
how easy is this conversation? How does he not get it?
Is going to make me think it's okay to kill those beings. Then we can change all the features. We can have the animal holocaust, and it wouldn't be okay to kill those beings. But you've said before it is okay. So it can't be that there's no feature that once changed would cause.
But he's not saying there's no feature. He didn't say that. That's what you're saying he's saying. But he never said that. Well, now he's saying feature. What happened to trait? I guess he's trying to switch it up here. Name the feature. NTF, bro. Nam-fee.
Change your moral evaluation. We'd actually get a contradiction if that's the case.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like saying, here's an easy way to explain it. Say you've got let's say you have a Volvo and you have a Honda or something, and you're it's like if you swap out, at what point, how many parts?
Well, oh my god, I remember this part. Okay, so right here, Ask Yourself is going to destroy his own argument right here.
Or it is okay. So it can't be.
And I'll explain why this argument makes no sense right after.
That there's no feature that once changed would cause you to change your moral evaluation. We'd actually get a contradiction if that's the case.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like saying, here's an easy way to explain it. Say you've got
Yeah, see, Base is done with this argument too. He was just like, fair enough. He just wants to give him that so he could just give him a different answer and move on because he's already tired of this game that he's playing.
Let's say you have a Volvo and you have a Honda or something, and you're it's like if you swap out, at what point, how many parts do you have to swap out of the Volvo for the Honda before you have a Honda, right? If you say there's no threshold where it becomes a Honda, if we switch...
But that's it. You just said it becomes a Honda, so therefore it is no longer the thing it was before. So now if we take cows and you swap everything that makes a cow with what makes a human, it is now a human. And now you don't eat it because it's your species. That's his argument. You're not getting that out of this? How did you not get that was Base's argument? He's still explaining this, and every way he's explaining it, Base already answered all these questions. It doesn't make any sense.
All of the parts. It seems
what a stupid argument. If you take all the parts that make something what it is and make it the other thing, then now it's the other thing. That's it. That's the end of the argument. It doesn't go anywhere. It's ridiculous.
Looking at a Honda, right?
Indeed.
Right.
Yeah,
so
indeed.
There has to be some feature. Now you can say that feature is something like, their ability to reciprocate morality, and we should explore those things. Because I think you might not actually agree with where some of those lead. But we're on the same page now that it has to be that there is some feature that morally separates those situations, right?
Well, it's not one individual feature. How about that for
exactly?
Yeah, it can be a set of features, but we understand there has to be something that separates those situations.
Yeah, he already explained what it was. He's just going over. Isaac just goes over the same things over and over. If, like I said, if it's not the answer he wants from you, you're just gonna repeat in circles and circles until he gets something from you that he can cling onto, and push that until he's shoved you into a corner.
Yes.
It's a game.
You understand
it's a
my ultimate point, though, right?
It's a game with strategy. I've seen the strategy for a long time.
Sure I do. So now what I want to do is kind of clarify what
Okay.
you think that those features
So,
are.
well, first I want you to understand what I'm trying to communicate.
Okay, but let me just ask, is what you're trying to communicate an answer to the question that I'm asking, or is it just some other thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of degrades from here. And this is like around the part, I'm going to stop it here, but this is around the part where they play that game, and Isaac plays that game where he's like, oh, we're just going to call your answer moral agency, and Base is just like, all right, as long as we understand that, like, that the multitude of my answer, all the different answers all together, is what we're calling moral agency. And then it goes into a game of Isaac constantly not taking it as that and saying, well, you said it was moral agency, that's the difference. And he's like, no, but we understood that it was moral agency meant something else, right? Like, and then Isaac wouldn't accept it, and it just got real stupid from there. Here he is with Chrisiosity again.
BJ's helps out because they
like
offer...
a total social inept loser, not knowing where he's out of place and acting like a total asshole. And
yeah, I am. How are you doing?
And you should be totally embarrassed by this behavior. I
doing
don't
good.
know how he's not embarrassed
Fantastic.
by this behavior.
Well, that wasn't my question. I hope.
Or anybody around him. I don't know how they're
So,
not seeing this as
I
being
guess I'd
embarrassing.
start by asking, are you vegan?
There we go.
Well,
just skip
technically,
it.
that answer is a category error. I could explain why. So if I ask you, what's true of the one that, if true of the other, would cause you to support it? If you pick something that doesn't fall in the category true of the one, right, it's just going to be a category error. So if you say something like, oh, the fact that the beings in question are, like, multicolor and can travel through solid objects, I'd just be like, oh, well, that answer is a category error, right? Because that's not actually something true of animals, right? If you say, I have to kill them for my survival, it's not actually something true of animals, so providing that kind of answer would be a category error. We're looking for something true of animals, that if true of humans would cause you to say, yeah, it's ethical to holocaust them.
Imagine... The funny thing is, this is an AMA. He does this all the time. How embarrassing is that? This isn't a debate platform, man. This is a place to ask people questions, not debate with them. This is why it's an ambush, and he tries to say, oh, well, I don't ambush. You make it sound like I'm hiding in the shadows. You kind of are. You're tricking people. You're fooling them into getting into a debate with you under the format that we're in this thing where I get to ask you a question and you're going to give me an answer. But you don't accept that answer and turn it into a debate. That's the ambush. Really, you should be like, what's the difference, blah, blah, and they answer you, and whether you like the answer or not, you should just say, all right, thanks, and go. Because you asked them the question and they gave you your answer. That's the end of the interaction.
Now, I'll say this also.
If I was doing an AMA and he did this to me, thus after my answer, and he continued talking, I'd be like, oh, you got your one question, I give you an answer. Whether he says it's a valid answer or not, I would be like, that's irrelevant. You got your question and you got an answer. It's irrelevant whether the question was accurate or valid. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was a question. You got an answer. Time to go.
If you're just a generally, like, kind of empathetic, decent person, which I don't know you at all, but, I would just give you the benefit of the doubt and assume you are.
Give the benefit of the doubt.
The honest answer might just be, there's not something, right? But if that's the answer, then your ethics would commit you to veganism.
Except it wouldn't, because there is an answer, but he just doesn't want it.
I can only tell you why.
But see, this is also an ambush, because like I said, this argument is a trick, and he's caught her. She's obviously never heard this argument before, and she doesn't understand that it's a trick. She's just, like, her brain is getting really confused by it, because he's asking her for something that's really simple out of a very complex situation, and it's hard for her to rationalize all the complexities that have to do with that question in a single term, like in a single simple
vegan right now, which
term.
is because I've asked my family to go to be a vegan, and they refuse.
Okay,
and
so let's...
That's an answer.
Let's process that answer.
Mind you, hear him right there. He says, let's process that answer. No, your time on this is over. You asked your question. She gave you an answer. That was it right there. And you accepted that as an answer and want to process it. That's something you do on your own time. There's other people waiting to ask her questions.
Through the question.
Hold on.
So, just 1 second. So, if it were the
See,
case,
and then he doesn't even let the moderators see. This is why He's in bad faith. Look at this. That guy's a moderator. He runs this thing, this AMA. He's telling him 1 second, Isaac. Probably wants to tell him, look, you got your answer, but Isaac hasn't even heard why he's telling him 1 second, and he won't let him stop now, and he won't let him stop him.
There's a human holocaust. Well, wait. If it were a human holocaust,
you see that?
Just to be clear about the question.
We're past the question. To be clear about it,
that your family. Wait, right. If your family were supporting the human, if the family were supporting the human holocaust,
I don't.
The
question would be,
they muted him.
I don't
awesome.
think that.
That's exactly what they should do.
Muted. What is this?
Look how he acts like a petulant child after being muted for acting like a petulant child, and he continues that behavior. Watch this. Look, watch what he's typing in the chat.
Justified.
Look at this. I am muted with the question mark. Yeah, they were telling you to stop, and you did. Somebody says yes.
In a bad place personally, and
I'm not doing an AMA in this server if I'm not unmuted. Like, who gives a shit? You ruin every one of them. Again, there you go. I'll give you 10 seconds. Yeah, they said props to you. Oh no, somebody's giving him props. But this guy said yes because you won't shut up. Yeah, you wouldn't shut up. You're not in control of this. This isn't your AMA. You're not running this. Little 5. He's like counting down.
In a place.
Yeah, he says this is curiosity. Yeah, Curiosity's AMA, not yours. You see how he acts like a child? Why would? And then he expects people to interact with him. Nobody wants to interact with somebody who's a douchebag like that. Why? You know what I'm saying? Who goes... Let's say you go to a party and you see some guy acting like a douchebag in the back. Everybody looks annoyed with him. You avoid that person. You're not going to go over there and start talking to him. You're going to go, I'm going to go hang out on this other side of the room where everybody's laughing and having a good time, and being chill and shit. Why would I want to hang out with somebody and talk to somebody who acts like that? How ridiculous is that? Holy shit. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's get it on. I'll bang some of these bitches. Bloodbath. Yeah, Toronto. Yeah, I had to get my passport going so I could meet up with you guys in Toronto and we can wreck some people. Oh, Devin, his name is Isaac. Isaac M. Not sure what the M stands for. And oh god, if you see his picture, wow. You'd laugh so hard. I don't know now. I mean, it's been like, last time I saw his picture was like maybe a year and a half ago. I'm not sure if it's still the same. What was the other thing? Oh, I didn't want to add that. What was the other thing? There was something else I wanted to address from this video, but now I can't remember what it was.
It's that special time yet again.
Fast forward.
The male and
the one thing funny with this is how the vegan agenda is like dead on. Works every time. Oh yeah, we talked about Holocaust. That's the wrong term for it. He knows it. It's part of his game. It's funny. It's funny how obvious it is. Like the game and the way these guys act. I don't know. It's funny.
My name is Chris. Before I started you.
Let's just talk. Fuck this shit. This shit's boring. Alright. It's funny that I don't know whether they do that on purpose and think that people don't notice if they act the way they do, or if they think it's just cool, or if they're really that, or if they really lack that much self-awareness. And I think it's a huge lack of self-awareness that I've seen, even from that Isaac M dude. He's extremely lacks self-awareness. And they're so predictable. It's so weird. These people are so I don't know. It's like they're lumped into a box, and they're trying to lump everyone else into boxes, but they're the ones who just like being in corners, like really, and being lumped into a box. But yeah, name the trait doesn't work. It's a shitty argument. I mean, it just goes in circles. There's no way out of it. It just goes in the circle of the person trying to push you into the corner and you dodging the corner and you just moving out of the way of the corner. It's like if you watch the UFC match where the dude just keeps pushing forward and the other guy just keeps circling the ring. Nothing happens from there. You just keep circling and circling and circling. Fight never happens. Virgins aren't self-aware. Yeah. Yeah, there is a very much a social awkwardness to it. These guys really don't know how to interact like normal human beings. It's really weird. But that's what I talk about too with age, because I mean, I grew up in a time where we didn't have internet, so I didn't have an internet persona. I don't know. I think with some people, it's like a persona they play online. They act a certain way online, but when you're offline, they don't act like that. They act completely different. That's what I'd like to know, or if these people act like that offline. Because if you act like that offline, you got to live in a place where people don't check you, right? Like, I mean, I was checked my whole life when I acted like that. I don't act like that because I was taught not to by society, you know? Anytime I did, I got fucking punched or jumped or, you know. If I acted the way Ask Yourself acted to somebody, if I got to talk with them in the street and I was fucking yelling at somebody like that, I'd get stomped. For sure. Anybody would. Why not? That's douchey. Nobody's going to accept you yelling in their face, you know. But you could do that on the internet, right? Without getting into a fight and worrying about the consequence. But in real life, you wouldn't do that because there is a consequence. And some people don't care about that consequence, but others do. I might end this soon, unless anybody else has anything else you want me to talk about. But in the end, the one main thing of not talking to Ask Yourself that makes it so funny is because he wants it so bad, but also because of his dishonesty, because he already ruined that. He ruined that from the beginning, right away. And he doesn't even realize that. That's where the lack of self-awareness comes in with that, is that it's been shown to him multiple times. It's been told to him multiple times that, yeah, you're dishonest. And that's why I wouldn't want to talk to you or have a conversation with you, because I have no expectation that you would have any level of honesty with me, that anything you said wouldn't be a lie, you know? Or that you won't go off and tell other people lies about how our interaction went, because that's what you did from the start. So why would I ever have an expectation of you not doing that, right? They grew up and formed little doomed colonies. I think people are just really just this shit. Yeah, I think. But they're not like that in real life. That's what I'm saying. Off of the internet, do you think Isaac talks to people like that off of the internet? You think he goes and has conversations with people at a park? And when they answer back with something he doesn't like, he goes, stop, 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 like really loud in the person's face until they give him the answer he likes, you know? Like, you think he really does that? There's no way he would ever do that in person. Ever. He knows somebody's going to run up and slap the shit out of him for doing that. He knows that. That's why he would never do that in person. Shit, some stranger might run up and slap him for doing that just for being such a douchebag. Like, people don't like that. But I think he does that stuff because he hasn't been checked in his life like that. He doesn't see repercussions for it. He's probably been like some spoiled kid and fucking... No, he's a Guelphling. A Guelphling! If he gets cornered, he's going to turn into an animal. Fight or flight? I would assume flight from him. Alright, so I'm going to end this. I think I had my piece. Unless I think I gave enough. I was pretty sure I went through everything I wanted to. There might have been something I missed, but I don't think it matters very much. You all see how it's a trick. You all see it's that it's a shitty argument, mostly because it's a trick. Like it doesn't care to be an honest argument. It only cares to trap you, to have the goal of trapping you. So it doesn't come at it doesn't come at you honestly. But none of that matters because nobody should be talking to him because he's a dishonest prick, which is the main reason. Alright, later guys. Bye Tony, bye Nina, bye Michelle. Thanks for